Hi, I'm Eileen Bild. I'm with OTEL Talk, and today I have a wonderful guest, Sandra Cooze. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
You're welcome. I'm doing awesome. So I want to introduce you to everybody. Sandra Cooze is an intuitive trauma release and self-empowerment coach. She's also the author of a new book that's coming out called Journey to Yourself: How to Heal from Trauma. Her passion and dedication for trauma healing was born because of her own traumatic past. She now experiences joy, freedom, and happiness each and every day. And I love that. I love that, how people can triumph over life's biggest challenges. Um, and with that in mind, we all have a story. We all have something to share, something to tell. And yours is a powerful one that is about a life journey where basically you hit rock bottom and you found ways to rise up and heal and transform. And I think it's a beautiful story that, has a mixture of the trials and
Yes.
tribulations, but also how you found the strength and the perseverance to get through. So if you could share with us in the beginning now, those pivotal points and how you found the strength along the way to keep looking ahead, to keep pushing forward and taking the action steps to get to where you are today.
Okay. Well, my story is a lot of abuse, sexual abuse. I started when I was 12. I was molested. When I was 14, I was sexually harassed. I was basically chased by a man around a hotel who wanted to touch my breasts. I wouldn't take no for an answer for about half an hour. And when I was 16 to 17, I was bullied in school by my class and the neighboring class. So it wasn't just a few kids, it was a whole drove. And when I was 19, from 19 to 25, I was sexually assaulted by multiple times by different men at different times in my life. And when I was 21, I was sexually harassed in a workplace. When I was 22, I was raped. And then at 24, I finally went to see a psychologist because I didn't like the person I had become. And after our very first session, he dismissed me by saying, I believe you've already worked through it all. What am I supposed to do? And yeah, that's
Wow.
when I hit rock bottom. This is the
I can
moment where every people's
imagine.
jaws just drop.
Right.
But what can you do? But on the other hand, today, when I look back, I see that I had to go through it all because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do what I do today. So that in itself is really empowering. When I think about it every day, what I've been through and what I can help others because of it, it made everything worthwhile, to be honest.
Well, and just think about how many people have had traumatic experiences along the same line. I can't imagine having been through just time after time the same experience that just seemed like it wasn't going to end. And I'm
Yes.
glad that you found the ability to rise above it and heal and be able to help others because there's a lot of people out there who need the help and the coaching that you do to help them find peace and joy in life.
Yes. And it's so possible. I mean, I feel so free every day. Like I'm not being weighed down by the trauma. Those men who assaulted and attacked me, they have no meaning in my life whatsoever. I'm just free of the past and I love it.
And that
There's
is
nothing
so
holding me
awesome.
down.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've been able to get yourself to that point. So, at what point did you know that you wanted to be a trauma coach?
Well, actually, that wasn't too long ago. I think I found, yeah, my business was founded in 2018, but it wasn't the beginning of my journey. I had a business before, It was spiritual, holistic jewelry, Reiki, tarot readings, and it was still part of my own healing journey. Can you give me 1 second? My cat wants out. I'm so sorry. I hope you can cut this out.
Okay.
Come on. Go. Go. So sorry about that.
I can cut it out.
I should have kicked him out before. I'm glad this is a recording.
That's okay.
Okay. Where was I?
You were talking about how your business was 2018 and now.
Yes. Well, I've been practicing Reiki since I'm a master since 2010. And I've practiced Reiki and gave Reiki sessions. But what I loved most about it was after the session, sitting down with my clients and just talk to them. And they opened up to me about their struggles. And most of those struggles were sexually assault or abuse or trauma. And I was like, why do I get all those people who've been through the same thing that I've been through? And that's when it clicked for me, because when I was sitting down talking with them, I knew exactly what to tell them to help them shift. And it made me so happy being able to give them something so profound that really changed for them. And that's when I decided, okay, this is what I want to do. And so I studied coaching. I'm a certified coach. And at the same time, I stumbled upon an amazing trauma healing modality that is almost unheard of, unfortunately. It is the same principle as EMDR, so eye movement sensitization techniques, with trigger release, but it's through powerful questioning. And it's called TIR, traumatic incident reduction. And I fell in love with this modality. I studied it, and my clients, they transform within 5 or 6 sessions. Of trauma is gone.
Oh, wow.
Just like that, they released it and it's gone. It never comes back. I wish I had that on my journey. Seriously, it would have been done so much faster. And I just fell in love with trauma healing, because the more I immersed myself into it, the more I realized how much I had learned on my own journey about trauma. Because when we talk about trauma, we don't really know what it is. It's trauma, and you live with trauma, and it's for the rest of your life, and that's all we know about it. We know we can cope with it. We know we can release it maybe a little, but it will never be completely gone. Not true. I have nothing left. My clients have nothing left. There is no trauma. And this is what I love so much. And this is why I'm so passionate about trauma healing, because I know you can heal.
That sounds like you've really found like a magic potion that, seriously, you know, just all it takes is the right technique or the right trigger to help somebody to truly let go of something that has control of their life and they can't move forward. So you've made it your life's work to demystify trauma. So tell me your story. How do you do this?
Well, first we have to understand that trauma is not a life sentence. That's very important. And the other thing of trauma is that we forget that our body is self-healing.
Mm.
So I would like to add a little story, if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Let me explain better what I'm trying to say than if I try to talk around the subject without triggering anybody.
Right.
So think about a paper cut. You get a letter in the mail. You're super excited. You can't wait to read it because you've been waiting for it for so long. And you rip it open and you get a paper cut right in a crease here where it really hurts. So what do? We run it in a cold water and use a Band-Aid if it's really bad, and then forget it. Because we know that the body is going to take care of it. It's going to heal it. Of course, we're going to be upset when we cut onions or have salt get into the wound and it hurts really bad, but it's just, a paper cut is the most annoying wound a body can get. Because it's really just annoying. It doesn't scare us or anything, it's annoying. But in essence, what happened to our body is the finger received trauma. It was traumatized, the finger, because it received a cut, it received a wound, so it's traumatized. But we are not going back to the moment where the paper cut happened and play it over and over in our mind again. We're not terrified of ever touching paper again because of it. Because we know the body is self-healing, so it's fine. It's going to be gone. Little scab for a few days and I'm okay. Now, with emotional trauma like sexual abuse, we think this is different, but for the body, it doesn't matter if it's a paper cut, if it's a broken bone, a new kidney, or emotional trauma. The body just knows healing is required, so let's do that. But with emotional trauma, we focus on the story. We always go back and try to find a lesson in it because we're taught everything happens for a reason. So, and the reason usually is we did something wrong or we had to learn something. But when it comes to trauma, there is nothing to learn. It happened against our will. We didn't ask for it. There's no lesson in it other than it's not our fault. But this lesson is so hard to learn for us because we're trying to find the reason why this happened, and we cannot find the reason without self-incrimination because it wasn't our fault. So in order to understand what trauma is, we have to stop looking at the story and allow our body to do what it's designed to do, heal. But as long as we go back in the story, it's like we're keeping on ripping off the scab from the paper cut.
That makes sense. Yes. So I have a question.
Yes.
You went through a lot of trauma. I mean, that was a lot what you shared. What did it take for you to be able to heal from that without repeating the story? So at what point could you look at that experience and be at peace with it as you're letting go and healing without the emotions, continuing to percolate and cause challenges in the now because of that experience?
Well, one very transformational moment I had was when I realized I was holding myself hostage. I did not allow myself to move on, to let it go, because I misunderstood the meaning of forgiveness. When we hear forgiveness, we think about you have to go to your abuser and say, I forgive you for what you've done. No, I never forgave my abusers, but I allowed them for myself to become no more important than a speck of dust that floats in the sunlight. That's forgiveness, that you allow yourself to let it go because you're the one who are holding yourself in that story. You don't stay stuck in the story with the paper cut. You just move on. But this is the same principle. It's a bigger scale, yes. But in essence, release yourself from the story and you'll heal. Because then you start releasing, you allow the emotions that were suppressed for so long to come up and go.
It's almost like a full mind, body, spirit validation that you're worthy and you're of value and that you matter.
Exactly. Now, my healing journey was not easy. It took me 20 years to really
I can imagine.
understand and release. But the more I understood, the more I healed, the more I let go. Because just because you're healing doesn't mean the story isn't valid anymore. No, what happened to you is inexcusable. But it doesn't mean you have to stay stuck in it. It's not your job to stay attached to your trauma. It's your right. I wouldn't say birthright, but it's your right to let it go because it's your life, not theirs. It's not the trauma's life. But as long as you keep yourself stuck in the story, you'll always be a prisoner of that story.
It sounds like your journey was also a discovery journey in learning about yourself, not as a reflection of the trauma and the experience, but more of who is Sandra.
Exactly. Because we always, when we're traumatized, we're not only in fear over what happened or what could happen again if we let it go, but it's also about mourning the person we used to be. But what if the person we will become after healing from the trauma is so much more than the person we ever thought we could be?
And I bet it's scary for people to let go of who they know they are because of that, because they don't know who they are without it.
Exactly. That's a very important point.
And so
It's scary.
so your coaching helps them to kind of bridge that
Yeah.
and move from that state to the new state. So you work with heart-centered women and couples who have come to the conclusion that living with trauma is no longer an option.
Yes.
So you help them heal from the emotional pain, release the limiting beliefs and the self-sabotaging behaviors so they can transform their lives like you have. I mean,
Mhm.
you're an example. You're living by example. So tell me more about, if you could go into a little bit more detail than what you've already shared about the work and why you chose to work with women and couples.
Well, first and foremost, I chose to work with women because I'm a woman. And don't get me wrong, guys out there, but your energy is different than the energy from women. And I resonate more with the energy of women. We're on the same wavelength because men, when they release trauma, it's in a different way. And it seems like my energy is clashing with theirs. And so we can't get to the same level of emotional connection, I guess. Let's put it this way. So nothing against men at all anymore.
That's
So
good.
that's why I prefer women. And most women have really trouble speaking up, speaking their truth, standing in their truth. And this is so important in any situation. Think about, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, but I'm also my own person and I'm an entrepreneur. So, and really being strong and know who you are in every situation with every hat you have on. That's so important, especially for women, because we have been taught for centuries that we are there to be the mother and take care of the house. We're the heart of the family. That's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of
And
pressure.
then trying to find your own way on top of it.
Yes. Yes.
So I
Well,
want to,
and if someone's been through trauma, to be able to rise above that and
yes,
maintain those roles. And
exactly. And
it
loving it,
takes,
loving life.
yeah. Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. So, many people end up holding on to trauma for their whole life. And I think it really beats down on their confidence, their self-esteem, their
Mhm.
ability to celebrate life. What did you find that worked best for you to assist you in your healing and releasing that grip on the memories that you had to be able to get to where you are today?
I was always challenging myself. We all have a comfort zone where we feel comfortable and whatever happens is okay. But then sometimes something comes up that is out of our comfort zone. We would like to do this, but we're terrified because we don't know what happens once we step out and take a risk. Because from the past, we learned that taking risks, not being careful, caused us to be sexually assaulted, caused us to be raped or have an accident or anything. So we're afraid. But if you change, if you try and push through, you have to challenge yourself. So, for example, my very first interview, oh my goodness, I held 5 crystals in my hand. I was so nervous and stressed out because I was like, I'm going to talk in front of people. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to stumble over every word. I tried to be so perfect. I was in sweats when I was done. But there was a challenge. I challenged myself and stepped out of it. And then I realized, wow, I only had a conversation with another person. That's all that is. And everybody else is listening. But for me, understanding it was just a conversation with another person like what I have with you made all the difference.
So the
First time I was
challenge,
on stage, same thing,
so
terrified.
yeah, so the challenges help you to overcome that fear and
Yeah.
just to build that confidence that you started to gain each step along the way of the healing process. Because I'm sure the healing came away in layers. And like you
Yes.
said, it took you 20 years. And
Hmm.
so, it's um, from my understanding of my own healing processes through different challenges that I've had and watching others as well and talking to you, there's layers. And one layer, you get a relief, but then there's the other layers underneath that surface, but you're able to deal with those quicker and easier. Did you find that
Hmm.
to be true for you?
Yes. Well, all those layers that we have are for the most part triggers. We're being triggered when we're being reminded of something. Now, one thing that I have learned on my own journey and what I teach my clients is how to release triggers on our own. Because I see a trigger as a guiding light towards what needs healing within us. This is
Absolutely.
why my work is so important for couples. Because so many couples have recurring arguments. They're being triggered by something their partner says. They think it's their partner. The partner thinks it's him or her. And they just fight all the time because they're constantly trigger each other, not understanding that what happened was they're being reminded of something that happened before, long before they even met. So when I work with couples, I help them both to release their traumas, of course, understand why they're triggered, how they can take a step back and realize that, and how to help their partner release that trigger rather than being triggered themselves and going into arguments.
Wow, you'll make a happy world if you can reach every couple out
That's
there.
my goal. Yes, because I
So,
believe that relationships should be empowering. It should be our sanctuary. There's enough stress in the world.
yes.
So our relationship should really be our foundation, literally. We should be able to talk to our partner no matter what. But so often I notice it with myself. I'm trying to make my husband happy, but I think I know what makes him happy. But when I said, "Did you like that?" He was like, I don't know. I'm getting triggered because I was like, what the hell? Why didn't you like that? But I'm also afraid to ask, well, what makes you happy? Because I'm afraid, or I was afraid, that I would make something that I'm not a good enough wife, that I'm not a good enough person to give him exactly what he needs. So that's why we resent asking, because we're told, well, you're supposed to make your husband happy. Go ahead and do that. We weren't told how. And that's what I help couples with. Like, communication is key.
Oh,
Understanding
absolutely.
triggers and helping them to release it. And that
Yeah.
makes for empowered couples who really are, they're each other's rock. And that's how it should be.
Well, it allows for that element of trust and
Yeah.
value and really validating each other's
Hmm.
feelings and emotions. And it's a strengthening of
Yeah.
that unity versus a destruction or breaking down. I love that.
When you think
Um,
about, most of our parents came from trauma too. So
yeah,
they can teach us how to be an empowered couple. We just
right.
take on what they taught us. And if you have a husband who has been growing up in a family where the man didn't have to do anything and the woman everything, and the woman had brothers and sisters who all helped, and then she has the husband who doesn't do a thing. So
It can be a vicious cycle, right? It's the
exactly. And I try
yeah.
and help them break it and really create a new cycle that works for both of them.
Well, it sounds like your whole platform is all about dismantling the old and creating a new, and then moving forward from the now into the future, taking the positive from the past, and then um, enhancing and
Yes.
empowering. So,
Hmm.
with that in mind, what were some of your successes, or have been some of your successes that have motivated you over those 20 years and now to do what you needed to do through some of the struggles, through some of the successes, um, to become empowered, to become what I would like to say is a gift to others, because trauma is so prevalent in today's day and age. And, it's leading to a lot of breakdown in a personal sense of self and sense of well being. So, share with us. those, like, I'll say stepping stones of successes that's enabled you to be in this place where you are now?
Okay. Well, in the beginning, it was all about I didn't want to feel like this anymore. And I was not willing to give up. I, in essence, I never had a support system. I mean, when I was molested, my parents believed me and took me out of the situation, but that was it. That was the only help I got, getting out of the situation. No counseling, no explanation what actually happened. I mean, I was 12. I was playing with Barbies. What did I know about sexual organs? You know?
Right.
So, and it was first I was really saying, okay, no one's going to help me. I'm going to help myself. I didn't know what that looked like, but I was open. I basically was saying, okay, modern medicine dismissed me. I give up. But with that, I allowed whatever was outside my box to come to the surface. And that's when I was introduced to spirituality. And I learned about crystals. I received a quartz crystal from a good friend of mine. It was the very first item I had to heal from trauma. I didn't understand what an impact it would have on me, but it really helped me to feel better by releasing some of that pressure that was building up. So that was my introduction to spirituality. Then came into Reiki and really felt like I've come home. Like the energy healing, I understood the chakras, what role they play, not just on a spiritual level, but on any level. And energy healing helped me understand how we can release. So I learned all about grounding, which helped me. So it was little bits and pieces. There's not one profound moment where I said, this was it. It's little things that make me go, you know, those are the things we have to look for. Those little things that you normally don't see because you're expecting the big treasure from the beginning.
Would you say that along the way, when you realized you made another step forward, that it was almost like a celebration, like a tiny, feeling of triumph that would be leading to that, like you just said, that major end result of I am free?
Well, not so much celebration because growing up, I was taught self-pride stinks. So growing up in Germany, post-war, you had to keep your head down. So I was told being proud of yourself is a bad thing. So still to this day, even though I work through it, I have the hardest time really genuinely being proud of what I've accomplished so far. It's getting better.
Good. That's good.
Yes. But not really celebrating, but I felt lighter. Let's put it this way. Or all of a sudden I became braver. So all of a sudden something that I wanted to do for years, but felt terrified of, suddenly wasn't so terrifying anymore. And I was like, all right, let's try this. Like with going on a radio show for the first time, going on stage for the first time, writing my book about trauma of all things. If you told me that 3 years ago, I would have laughed. So it's little things. Like I just felt lighter and more determined to try new things.
Maybe do you think some of it is because you felt safer to be able to step out and really be okay to put it behind you and release it, and it's not so much a part of you anymore, that you're really coming into your authenticity?
Yeah, but really for the past few years, I wasn't even thinking about my traumas.
Good.
I was focusing inside. Okay, what is inside? What needs to change? And this had nothing to do with the stories.
So at
Which
this
is
point,
not
you definitely have released the story, and
Yeah.
now you're living an authentic life as Sandra Cooze, and you know who you are, you know what you offer, you know what your gifts are, and you're purposefully living.
Yes. And I
And
can't imagine doing anything else.
that's a good point, because you know now what you want in life. And it seems like the ability for you to heal, and even though it took 20 years, you know how to heal in a shorter period of time because you have the tools and the techniques and the ability to help others to heal in a much quicker fashion.
Yes.
So who inspires you, and why do they inspire you?
Well, Oprah. Because it was her words, turn your wounds into wisdom, that really made me think or made me realize that my story could have meaning, that sharing my story could actually help others, and made me think about that for the first time. And it really helped me to immerse myself in my business. Because normally when we're being traumatized, we think, well, it happened to me. Who cares about what happened to us? Everybody goes through that. So we're dismissing it. We're dismissing ourselves. We put everybody else before us.
Good point. So what you would like to impart today to people is to honor the self through the healing process, and in that honoring to really feel that connection with who you are as that authentic person, and to not let that story um, disempower, and instead to know that it is possible to heal, it is possible to move beyond, and to have a fulfilling and joyful life and
Yes,
career.
exactly.
So far, what would you say has been the most profound change or shift you've seen in a client?
Well, I have one client who always feels very nauseous when we go through our trauma release sessions. And she tends to release by throwing up. It's not pleasant either for her nor for me, but she releases through that. But the thing is, at the beginning of a session, she is throwing up constantly. She can't hardly speak. And at the end, she's laughing about the trauma. It's just gone. So
Interesting.
she is really, yes, it is difficult for her, but she is pushing through, and she has a mantra. Everything she has been releasing, she adds to the mantra and she sings it every time it's getting too hard with the trauma release. And it's incredible how much she has released and really pushes through. And yes, our body tries to stop us from releasing the trauma because stop us to feeling it again.
Got
But
it.
she's pushing through and she's releasing it, and it's incredible.
It sounds like that she's so relieved and happy and feeling better. And that's why, it's almost
Yes.
like a joyful giggle, like, oh, wow, I
Mm-hmm.
feel alive again.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, that's
Um,
an extreme.
yeah,
That's an
of
extreme.
course, of
So it's not
course.
normal. Don't worry.
Well, I think as a general rule, we tend to remember, and there's science that backs this up, that we tend to remember more of our negative experiences than the positive. And I'm sure most of what you encourage people is to focus on positive and the happiness and the joy and the beauty of life and the beauty of living, regardless of the trauma that we've been through. I like to say, the past is strictly a memory. It doesn't really exist as a
Mhm.
physical entity. Of, it's not happening now. So when we can learn to let it go, then we can live more in the now and really value and appreciate life now. So, what do you appreciate most now?
What do I appreciate most now? The freedom, not being, not feeling so heavy emotionally, not feeling like I have to drag myself out of bed and live through the day. Like, I'm not being weighed down by my emotions anymore. And if I feel something is coming up, I know how to handle it. I know how to release it. So the freedom to really feel however I want to feel without worrying that something suppressed may come up. This is really nice, like pure freedom of thought and emotion, because emotions are neither bad nor good. Emotions are what they are. And if we force ourselves to not feel, we're taking away a part of us. And so I think that.
Yes. Well, it sounds like it's very liberating. So hold up, your book's coming out. So show everybody the cover. Journey to Yourself, How to Heal from Trauma. So let everybody know where they can find you so they know when that book comes out.
Okay. Well, my book is going to be on Amazon the next 2-3 weeks. And you can find me on my website, www.riseaboveyourstory.com. You can find me on Facebook under the same name, Rise Above Your Story. You can find me on Clubhouse, Sandra Cooze. You can find me on Instagram, Sandra Cooze. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Sandra Cooze.
So all we have to do is Google Sandra Cooze and we'll find you everywhere.
Pretty much, yes. You'll find me, don't worry.
That's great. So one last thing, any words of wisdom for those who may feel hopeless and or helpless right now?
I've been asked a lot if there's ever a point where you can't be fixed. And to that I say no. There is never a point where you can't be fixed. You are not broken. There's nothing needs fixing. What we need is to release. And there's never a point of no return. Ever. You're ready to heal your trauma. I'm here to help. And together we can do that.
That's amazing. Well, thank you, Sandra. I really enjoyed talking with you today, and we'll definitely have you back on it sometime in the future.
I would love that. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.